Hello, baseball and umpire fans, and welcome back to another episode of The Leading Edge, where we talk with umpires about umpiring and look to cover topics on both sides of the plate. We're excited to get this episode to you. It is the second half of the interview with former minor league umpire, current WBSC umpire, and a guy that really likes chicken wings, Keith McConkey. Topics we cover are coming back from winter ball, his experiences at the 2005 Futures All-Star Game, and MLB Home Run Derby. He gets us his local legends, and of course, everyone's favorite 10 questions. So sit back, relax, get ready. It's coming. Interesting baseball facts. According to the Baseball Almanac, the Major League Baseball strike zone has had 13 different changes since its inception in 1876, with the most recent change coming in 1996. Now, just for the heck of it, let's review the rulebook definition of terms 2.0, the strike zone. The strike zone is that area over home plate, the upper limit of which is a horizontal line at the midpoint between the top of the shoulders and the top of the uniform pants, and the lower level is a line at the hollow beneath the kneecap. The strike zone shall be determined from the batter's stance as the batter is prepared to swing at a pitched ball. Now, considering all the changes that have occurred to the strike zone over the years, the next time somebody says that should have been a strike, there's a good chance within the 13 different changes, it probably was. So cut them some slack. But anyways, welcome back to another episode of The Leading Edge, where we talk with umpires about umpiring and look to cover topics on both sides of the plate. This episode, a little bit special. It's essentially the second half of the interview with former minor leaguer and current WBSC umpire, Keith McConkey. But before we get into it, let's reflect back on the first half of the interview and see what we talked about.
Stopped at around junior age, I would think. Like, I'm used to trying to get out of the way of the ball, and now you want me to on purpose get in front of it. And I was like, yeah, no, we're going to call the cops. Like, normally I'd brush something like that off, but this guy's 60 years old and he might actually stab me. I believe him.
You got nothing left to lose.
So I get offered to go to extended spring in Sarasota, Florida, which is one of the best experiences of my entire life. We had no games on Sundays, so we would tear it down, man. We were in every Saturday night, we were watching the sun come up on Sunday morning and, swimming in the Gulf of Mexico. So like, talk about what a cool experience, right? Being 23 years old. And they made us in A-ball, they make you travel during the day. So that can create some problems, right? Like, I remember in the Midwest League going from somewhere in Michigan to Wisconsin, and you get stuck in midday traffic in Chicago and you're starting to get concerned you're not making it to Wisconsin. Dodger Town, they used to call it, was a real cool setup. They had the back fields, you had rooms right on site, and they had buffet and the locker rooms there. So you really didn't have to leave Baseball City. Chad Fairchild was a name you might recognize. Yeah. Yep. So Chad was on my crew and he was from there.
Well, there it is. Glad that you're caught up to date. If you haven't listened to it, check it out on Podbean, Spotify, Apple iTunes Podcast, Amazon Alexa. Catch it on YouTube, anywhere you really get to pod. Like I say, if you're listening to it right now, you probably know where to go. Okay, time for the traditional social media Facebook drop. Check us out, Leading Edge Umpire Stories on Facebook. That way you'll know updates when the next show is coming. Maybe do some fun stuff. Check us out, Leading Edge Umpire Stories on Facebook. Like, share, get the word out. We'd appreciate it. Okay, we know it's been a little while since we got the first half interview, so you're ready to listen to it, and that's why you're here. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right back into Keith McConkey on The Leading Edge, where he is talking about coming back from winter ball and working some minor league baseball. Please enjoy. Okay, Keith, you've worked winter league baseball. Now you've worked almost a full year straight umpiring. What was it like to come back and get in the groove working minor league baseball again?
I came back. That was a hard year, and you work 160 plus games when you include spring training, and then you go to winter ball and you work another 100 because it was like a 90 game season with, then you get playoffs, and so you're up over 100 games by the time you're said and done, and you're coming home at the end of January, and spring training starts mid-March, so you really get about 6 weeks off. I was gassed. I was really tired, and then in my last year in the game, I was working with Jeff Spizak again, and a guy named John Coons. And so Spizak had an injury. He had just had to get surgery on his foot, and really we ended up being shorthanded for a substantial amount of time, and being that tired after the fact, I really lost my desire to do it for much longer, to be honest with you. Like, it's, you get that grind, and then you're like, this is the experience I'm having now. So that'd have been 2005. So now I'm 29 years old. I'm like, can I see myself doing this for another 30, 40 years? I don't know, man. Even in the big leagues, it's still, you're still on the road all the time. You fly in airplanes instead of driving overnight in a van, and, you stay in hotels where it costs 25 cents to flush the toilet. When you eat better food, because you're, at the time it would have been $300 and some odd dollars a day in per diem. But yeah, that year I worked, we worked a lot of 2-umpire system, because then finally Jeff got replaced, and then the guy who replaced him got mono. So he was out. So old Coonsy and I worked damn near a whole season of AA ball with just the two of us. And we got guys like Michael Bourne is a guy that used to play for the Phillies. He was in the big leagues for a while. I don't know if he still is, but you get plays like John runs out, fly ball to right field. I'm chasing the runner all over the bases. They're fast, by the way, at that level, really fast. Coons misses it. Like, I think it's a trap, and he calls it a catch, or vice versa. I can't remember. And Michael Bourne has the nerve to say, man, I know you only got 2 of you, but you got to get out further. And I was like, excuse me? Probably started yelling at him from about 50 feet away. Like, but you're talking out of both sides of your mouth right now. Yeah, you understand there's only 2 of us, but you got to get further out. Like, which one is it? So that was a challenging year. I mean, the awesome part about 2005 is I got assigned to work the Futures Game, which was just an amazing experience, right? I was in Detroit, you get the major league experience where they put you up in that badass hotel, like really nice hotel right on the water on the St. Clair River in Detroit. And then they pay you the $300 or some odd dollars a day in big league per diem. We get to the stadium, the clubby has a spread of food out for us. And I mean, like, chicken and salad and stuff, not,
Doritos,
3-day-old nachos, right? Like, so he's looking after you, and they had your uniforms to you, and they hemmed them, like they had them in the right size. And so you got full big league uniforms. I got pants and a jacket. Now the All-Star game was in July, and I got the heavy duty big league jacket. And I'm like, I'll never wear this.
Right.
Like, I put this on to make sure it fits. And that is the last time probably I'll wear it. I think it's sitting in my old Priestmeyer in the garage. It's not dusty because it's inside that crate, but the full thing, they give us a full thing of gear, a new chest protector, a mask, and shin guards, and a bag, and paid you money you went and did a little clinic during the Fan Fest, and they paid you like $150 or something. I'm like, that's like 2 days salary for a person in AA back in 2005. So, the Futures Game was a really awesome experience. And, it's after the fact, and this was a real surprise, they sent the 4 umpires that worked there. DJ Rayburn was on the field with me in the Futures Game. They sent us all this like XM Futures All-Star Game. I don't even know what you call it. Almost like a case, right? Fancy case. And it had 2 baseballs in it. One was signed by everybody on the world team, and one was signed by everybody on the US team.
That's cool.
So I'm like, that was a real cool takeaway. And that is well protected too somewhere in my house. I don't want my kids to get their hands on those baseballs, right? I want to be able to, at some point when they're old, they're old and they don't need this room full of toys here. We can bust out all of my memorabilia and put stuff up on the wall. Like, maybe one of my winter ball jerseys that has a 24x24 Pepsi symbol on the back of it. Or no, as a Pepsi or Polar, like the ads, you had ads all over your jerseys and the hat. But yeah, so that was come the end of 2005, and we had that strike where they just did not want to negotiate. They wanted to give us no more money. It's like I was making like $2,600 a month or something stupid for 5 months a year, and $22 a day in per diem. Like, who can live off that? So we went on strike, and I was pretty resigned to the fact that I wasn't going back. And ended up getting released anyways. So it really made the decision that much easier for me.
Literally.
You know, and it's interesting when you get released, there's this feeling of, you know, like, oh, it's a terrible feeling, right? It's like a, you know, girlfriend breaking up with you almost. You've worked this many years, this long and hard to get somewhere. And you had these visions of getting to the big leagues. And once you get to the AA level, you can really see the light at the end of the tunnel. And there weren't very many job openings. And then, you get, it becomes a numbers game, right?
For sure.
So they don't see you in, getting to the big leagues, and whatever, you move on, right? You go get a real job.
Tonight, you've probably rambled off 20 names, let's just give or take, minor league guys that you worked with, including yourself. Yeah. But I think in the game, I don't even think there's been 400 major league umpires total. So you've rambled off close to 5% of the potential all-time major league umpires, if you would put those guys. I mean, so it's a numbers game. That's exactly what it is.
I mean, I work with numbers for a living, but I've never looked at those stats. Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm trying to think, lots of guys that I went through the game with umpire-wise, but I know players too. The question I always get is, hey, did you ever see any really good players? I'm like, yeah. So I'm a crew chief in Lakeland in spring training in 2005. And, we find this bar downtown. It was beauty. There's lots of nice looking young ladies there, like a college crowd. And so we're at this bar having a few drinks, and I'm at the bar waiting to get a beer. And a guy is beside me, goes, "Hey, Keith, how are you?" And I said, "Do I know you?" He goes, "Yeah, my name's Justin. I'm in the Tigers camp. I just got drafted this year." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Justin, what's your last name?" And he goes, "Verlander." Yeah. And he goes, "Let me buy you a beer." I said, "Justin, that's not really a good way." He goes, "I just got a big signing bonus. Let me buy a beer for you guys." So Verlander ended up going straight from college. I think he was at Old Dominion or something. And he's got a little crotchety as he gets older, but Verlander was a pretty cool cat when we were younger. Like he went straight to AA out of college, which is pretty unusual. And he just lit it up, right? He lit it up. And then he went to the Futures Game with me. We're on the same flight, actually. Flew us first class. We were both pounding as many Heinekens as we could get down our throats. We weren't used to that free premium beer, right? Like, he got a $5 million signing bonus. He's riding a bus in AA. So then, I mean, we all know how well he's done. A couple of Cy Youngs, a couple no-hitters, he's not the best looking guy in the world, so I think he married up. I really do. Verlander, and I had Miguel Cabrera all the way through the minor leagues. Hanley Ramirez was a guy you might remember, played for the Red Sox for years and the Marlins, and Jose Reyes and Jose Bautista. Some people may know him. I had him in AA in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Beautiful Altoona. A bunch of names.
Those are guys that we watch every night on TV. It's really
and some guys that are not around anymore. I'm trying to think of some of the names, but Francisco Rodriguez. Remember when he came up as a rookie and won the World Series with? So I had him that very next year in winter ball. I've never seen a slider like that in my entire life, and I don't think I ever will. He threw the thing like 92 miles an hour, and it would break 18 inches to 2 feet. Like I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. Do you remember the name Tomas Perez? Tomasito
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
I had him in winter ball, and what a clown. Like just chirping other team umpires, just having fun, right? Like he was done playing in the big leagues. Marco Scudero was down there. Ramon Hernandez, catcher with the Reds, I believe, at the time. Ugi Urbina. I was down there right after like his mom got kidnapped and all that stuff, which was kind of scary. Like some pretty big name guys out of Venezuela. And so the list goes on, and I'm not sure I can remember it all. A lot of big names. And I was never a guy I'm still not. I've never been a guy that's, come on, let me get your autograph. Like these guys are regular guys. Like
they are. I mean, you don't get autographs; you just get beers.
Well, yeah. I mean, that situation was pretty funny with Verlander. He's like, "Hey, Keith, how are you?" I was like, who are you? And how do you know my name? Like, he's just got drafted. He would be, and he knew the name of the crew chief of the umpiring crew. So somebody had a talk with him and said, hey, part of this being a professional means that you learn people's names. So I remember that I got off the plane on like a Wednesday and, went out for dinner and the whole crew on the Wednesday, and Thursday morning I had the plate in a AAA game. Cliff Lee against, who was pitching? Big guy pitching for Detroit at the time, Dominican, threw about 100 miles an hour. I was like, hang on tight, son. This is going to be a tough one. If it wasn't for winter ball and me working into January, it would have been a guessing game. Because these guys, Cliff Lee was throwing a curveball that broke 3 feet. And thank goodness they gave me big league catchers. It wasn't the rookie ball guys that they stuck out there with the big league pitchers. So I've been fortunate enough to work in 2 big league stadiums, Citizens Bank Park at Philly, which is a real cool stadium. Philly's a cool city. If people listening have ever get the chance to go to Philly, go to Philly.
I want to get there.
Got a bad reputation, but Philly's a great town.
That pitcher, did he wear his hat straight or was it a little bit crooked?
A little bit crooked.
Was it Fernando Rodney?
Yes, it was. Fernando Rodney. I couldn't believe it. He was throwing a ball 100 miles an hour in spring training. I'm like, this is day one for me. They've been down here for a month.
You always reminded me as like a John Daly, a grip and rip, just fire.
And just gangly arms everywhere. Like, Fernando Rodney. Wow, you got a better memory than me, and I was there.
I think in Detroit, trying to go back through that, they weren't really good around that time. They had a huge ballpark that benefited pitchers, but it left a lot of holes in a lot of areas.
Well, I remember it was a pretty new stadium when they had the All-Star game there, and I worked the home run derby. So I worked they had 4 of us, and they split you up. 2 you worked the Futures All-Star game, and then 2 of you worked the slow pitch classic or whatever, and then 2 worked the home run derby. So I was fortunate enough to work the right field line in the home run derby, and I got booed by 45,000 people because Pudge Rodriguez hit one, and the fan reached just over the wall and grabbed it, and I wouldn't give it to him. So they all booed me. I was like, nope, spectator interference. You're out.
Post-show edit, you think you're going to drop a 2005 home run derby reference about Pudge Rodriguez and we're not going to look it up? Check out the show description. You're going to find a link. That link will let you, the listener, judge for yourself if you think it should have been a home run. All I'm going to say is Pudge Rodriguez is the hometown hero in Detroit. The fan might have reached over, but loses a beer in the process on 100% grounds of game management situations. I think that's a home run. But like every other play that has ever happened in Major League Baseball, I don't get the final call. Anyways, back to the show.
Yeah, that one. And then
he's a legend.
Bobby Abreu that's the year that he won it. And I distinctly, I still can envision it in my head. And I got a lot of memories that I can't remember. But he hit this ball 50 or 60 feet over top of the foul pole. And I was like, I have no idea if that was fair or foul, but you hit that ball to the moon, so I'm going to give it to you. Pointed at fair, home run. I've never seen a ball hit that far in my life. And I've seen some hit pretty far. I couldn't believe he was in a big league stadium. And those fair foul poles are ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
They're
the top length of the stadium.
High.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he hit it way over top of it. I'm like, coin flip? Look good to me. Yeah. Right? It is the home run derby. I've already been booed once. I don't want to get booed again.
I'm just here to make double
that was
him.
And not worried about twisting an ankle on the field. That is one. That is the one thing that I really miss. I mean, 2 things I miss about professional baseball is the field. So the field of play.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just
manicured,
immaculate. I mean, it's somebody's full-time job, right? They cut the grass every single day. So the ability to soak up rain and it's perfect all the time. There's no sloping down. You're worried about you're going to sprain an ankle if you got to turn around and go out on a ball. That and I miss the professionalism. So not even the level of play, but I miss people treating people as professionals, right? It's Philip and Keith and everybody, especially when you've been with somebody for 3 or 4 years through the minor leagues, you get to know, hey, they got married in the off season, they got kids, and they're human beings. Yes, you don't agree all the time, but it's not like you see, we all watch this close call sports for the ejections and things and people acting like lunatics, and those are few and far between. You get more problems at, a Bantam House League game locally than you would at a professional level, which blows my mind. Beer league. Mm-hmm. Or I won't even umpire a local men's senior league anymore.
As amateur umpires, I think that's what we grow to expect, and we try to bring as much professionalism as we can to the game, but it's just in a different class all of itself. Working professional baseball, there's a reason why it's called professional baseball, because these players, these umpires, they're going to work. They're fortunate to work in the best sport in the world, in my opinion. And they, at the end of the day, they have the same employer. Major League Baseball employs them. If it wasn't for Major League Baseball and minor league baseball, nobody would have a gig. So they need to represent the brand. Yes, we don't agree sometimes as fans in some of the ways that the professional, what we would call professionalism, but that's how they're handling the culture within their organization. And way better than any amateur baseball any other night. But let's talk amateur baseball here. How many Baseball Canada National Championships have you worked?
I should have known you were going to ask me that question. Let me count. And it's not nearly as many as some of these other clowns you've had on the show. Okay. These guys have been doing it for 50 years, and they've been to every city in the country, right? Still haven't been to Saskatchewan, still haven't been to Manitoba. Haven't had the luxury of umpiring in BC, although I've asked several times. I keep getting told no. Thanks, Trev. I'm going to throw you on a bus for that one, by the way. So I've been, 2007 was my first one. So, 2005 was my last year in professional baseball. Yep. And that'll bring me back to, I forgot to answer your question early on about did I get in the program before professional baseball? So
it's only an hour and 5 minutes later, but that's okay.
I'll circle back on it. You asked me to tell some stories, and I got off. I get really deep into those stories, and I want to be I want to be detail oriented, right?
Oh, they were great.
So 2007, I got assigned to the Bantam single site. So I was a Bantam in
Windsor.
In Quebec City.
Oh, Quebec City, yes.
And so there was a alarming trend here. You see how many times they've sent me to Quebec. So Quebec City in 2007, 2009, I went to Trois-Rivières, Three Rivers for the juniors. 2011, I went to Moncton, New Brunswick.
Canada Cup.
For the Canada Cup. 2012, I believe, I supervised at the Bantams in beautiful Oshawa, Ontario. Yes, no sarcasm at all. The Schwa, they call it the Schwa. And then 2013, went to beautiful Sherbrooke, Quebec for the Canada Games. And then 14, I supervised in Charlottetown, PEI. Shout out to Kent Walker. Charlottetown is one of the best cities in the country.
No question.
So Charlottetown, and then I finished that, and I came back, and I spent a few days in Toronto for tournament 12. That was 14, I said. And then 16, 15 or 16, it's all running together now. I got to supervise at the Canada Cup in Fort McMurray. I didn't realize how close Fort McMurray was to the sun. It's really close to the sun. Yeah. No joke. It's blazing hot here. And we got there, and guys they're bitching and moaning. They're like, oh my God, it's so hot here. I'm like, it's 26, feels like 26. 26 degrees Celsius is not that hot. I don't have a whole lot of protection on the top of my head, as you can tell.
Okay.
I was out watching a game, and I was outside in the sun for 30 minutes. I got torched, man. I was a mess. I was like, oh my God, hat every minute of every day for the rest of the time I'm here. I was outside for 30 minutes. So anyways, Fort Mac, and the guys were like, oh my God, it's so hot. I got home, and it was like 40 degrees with feels like 44 or some silly number. 35 feels like 44. I'm like, this is Florida weather. You guys were complaining about 26. And then, so baseball national championships, what was that? Four umpire, 3 supervisor? Is that what that looks like?
Yeah, I think so.
So seven in total, 4 umpire, 3 supervisor. So I still have yet to umpire a senior men's national championship.
Oh, interesting.
I was scheduled to supervise at the senior men's last year, but we know what happened there. And that was in Sydney, Nova Scotia. I was really excited about getting to Cape Breton.
Yes.
I've got some fond childhood memories there. My grandmother on my mother's side and grandfather there from Cape Breton, beautiful place called Shetty Camp.
Yeah, if you're from the Maritimes, you know where Shetty Camp is.
Yeah, I swear I have a childhood memory of seeing penguins in Shetty Camp, and as an adult, I'm not sure how accurate that is. I don't think there's penguins in
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think penguins are only in the Antarctic.
Or like Africa. There's lots of penguins in Africa, but there are none in Nova Scotia.
Now that I think of it, I think penguins are native to Sierra Leone. Yeah, no, you might have seen a pelican.
Yeah, some other seafaring bird.
So amongst everything, though, do you have a favorite championship that you've attended?
Each championship I've gone to had, each one was very unique. Like, Quebec City just rained all the time. Okay. And, we had a game that finished at 11:59 p.m. And as we were walking off the field, the timer on the lights went out. So that happened. It was like, hey, the lights are going to go at midnight. And I'm like, hurry up, everybody run on off the field. But, I think the Bantams exceeded my expectations because I didn't have a good understanding of how close the bases were together. Yes. So it really sped up the game. And we almost had a fight. Like, I worked a semifinal play job between Quebec and Quebec City. So like the club team from Quebec and Quebec City. And so we had a ball that hit to the shortstop. It took a bad hop and hit the shortstop up in the high shoulder face, somewhere in that. And my French was mediocre. Somebody said something. All of a sudden, players are coming off the bench. And I was like, something's up. And so I started running out and getting in between them. I just, that professional experience, I saw the problem happening very quickly. And thank goodness I was working with a guy by the name of Benoit Degrasse from Quebec. And he started hollering at people in French, and he got their attention pretty quickly. People stopped in their tracks. But, that was a pretty cool game, real tight game, semifinals. And then I worked first base in the gold medal game, and it was a stinker. Right. It was no good.
Usually the semifinals can be a little bit better than the gold medal games.
Yeah.
Just it's first game of the day typically. And
like Trois-Rivières in the juniors, it was a neat tournament. They just put a bunch of money into the stadium in Trois-Rivières. So I think they put about $7 million into it. So it was in good shape. But another one where it bloody well rained all the time.
Right.
So now you're fighting the tournament. Nothing's on track. The games are all delayed, and they're just scrambling to try to get games in and sending you to the third field when you're supposed to be on the main stadium. And there's a big difference between the main field and the third field. Number one, it takes 45 minutes to get there. And that was interesting. And then in Moncton was pretty cool. That was when they first started the whole check mark for the international, your international stuff. So I worked with John Oko and a few other people there, and I enjoyed that. Now, Moncton's an awesome city, right? So we saw some of the city and the Baseball Canada Cup. Those kids can play ball, right? They're no nonsense. They play ball. And the Canada Games, the baseball wasn't nearly as good as it was in the Canada Cup because there was that it's a year younger, right? So it becomes a year younger.
Okay.
So instead of getting the top under 18 players, it's like the top 17 and under. The Canada Cup's, I think, 18 and under, and the Canada Games was 17 and under. But the problem with those club tournaments is the format is tough, right? Because you get Ontario, Quebec, BC, and then usually it rotates between like Alberta and Saskatchewan or Manitoba. They play each other twice each through round robin, and then the other 5 teams play. Yeah. And then they cross over, and you're pretty much guaranteed that semifinal is going to be a blowout, except for when I umpired the Canada Cup, Saskatchewan made the finals, right? So I saw Saskatchewan make the finals, and they were a good ball club. So the Canada Games and the stinky part was we landed in Montreal, and I had flown in with Lisa Turbot, and we landed, and our driver was nowhere to be found. Supposed to pick us up in Montreal and fly and drive us to Sherbrooke, which should have been about an hour and a half drive. An hour and a half later, we find him. He had gone to eat dinner. So now we drive. He gets lost in downtown Montreal. We have to stop and ask for directions. So it takes us just shy of 4 hours, I think, to get to Sherbrooke from after landing. And so we get there just in time for the opening ceremonies to be letting out. So we sat for almost an hour and a half in the vehicle on the road at the University of Sherbrooke. By the time we get through, we got no keys for our rooms.
Yeah,
We've missed the umpire meeting. We missed the opening ceremonies, which is part of the allure of the Canada Games, right?
Right.
So we're outside our room. We're sitting outside of our room, Lisa and I, for a while. And then we finally get keys and we get in, and poor Lisa has an inch to an inch and a half of water on her room floor.
Great way to add insult to injury.
Yeah. So, being the chivalrous guy I am, I can't leave somebody like that. So we got it all cleaned up. Poor Lisa. I got to think it's 1 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. And I've been going since early in the morning, Eastern time, get to Toronto to the airport.
Right. And you've been hyped up for the day. And
yeah, so we get there and, we get in the room, finally get to sleep. And I have like a 8:30 play job the next day.
Former pro experience, you're good to go.
Well, yeah, I
No.
wasn't real nervous, and it was midget level baseball. So, it wasn't, not talking down the level of ball, but I am really happy it was me and not somebody else who had to go through that experience and then have a play job. But after that, it got a lot better. We had some troubles with some sailors, people that listen that were there, like Rob Allen will remember that story with fondness. Some problems with sailors in a empty beer can tower and flip flop, and
I'll have to bring Rob back just to hear that story.
Yeah, so it was good, and there were some really great guys there, like Buckingham,
legend.
Yeah, so another legend. So Bucky was there, and so it was a really good crew of people, and we had a lot of fun, and we were at the French Sherbrooke, University of Sherbrooke, which was all French, and then all of the athletes stayed down at Bishop's University, which was English. We got a French lesson every morning for breakfast, and but no, other than that, they looked after us pretty good.
That's cool.
I had a wrestling official, and this may not be true. It's another thing that may be false, but she told me, wrestling officials, she says, people from Saskatchewan call Saskatchewan the Squatch.
Scratch, I don't know.
And I was like, I'm not buying that one. I'm not buying what you're selling, but you keep trying.
That might be what they talk about in wrestling or something. Like, I believe in Sasquatch, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah. Never seen one personally, but they may exist.
They may exist. Never heard of anyone in Saskatchewan calling it the Squatch. Something Manitoba would say, probably.
Might have been the booze. Yeah.
Okay, let's round second base here. You have a few international events under your belt. 2017 Thunder Bay World Under 18 Championships. Share with us how you got there.
Yeah, so that was my first one, and that came through Baseball Canada. So we had what were called locals, and Chris Wilhelm was the international umpire, they call it. So he would have been assigned by the World Baseball Softball Confederation, and I was one of the locals assigned by the host country. So Aaron Roberts and I, and Trevor Drury, and Rob Allen, and I don't want to miss anybody.
Elmer
Jerkovitz. Yeah. I want to make sure. Andrew Higgins was one of the supervisors. So I got that call, and so that was, the tournament started, I think, like September 7th. So early September anyways. And on June 29th, at the advice of my lovely wife, we were out working out. I'm trying to get in good shape before the tournament. So we're out at this guy who's a personal trainer, and they have an obstacle course that he's built, and you run through the obstacle course, and he's personal trainer, and you do all these things. So we're doing it, and one of the things he built was this warp wall. So I said, okay, at the end of this circuit, I'm going to try to go up the warp wall, and I go and I take my last step before I'm to jump up the warp wall, and I hear snap. I ruptured my Achilles.
Oh, that's anytime you hear snap, you're thinking Achilles.
Like, I could hear it. It was disgusting. I heard it through the headphones. I had music blaring, and I heard it through the headphones. It was a very disturbing experience.
Yes.
We have my car, which was standard at the time,
right?
6-speed standard. My wife can't drive standard. I probably can't push down on the gas pedal at this stage of the game. So my wife calls her father. He comes, drives my standard car home. She drives his car. Then she gets in her car and drives me to the hospital. Long story short, 2 days later, I decided to have surgery on it. And I told the orthopedic surgeon, I have this going on. Like 9 weeks from now, I want to be on the field umpiring this tournament because I may never get this opportunity again.
No question.
I got the surgery done, the cast, we go through a week, they removed the cast, put on a fiberglass one, which was a miserable experience.
Especially in the summer.
In the summer, the heat of the summer. 2 weeks later, so we're now at 3 weeks, he takes the fiberglass cast off, takes the sutures out. And I said, okay, doc, what's next? He goes, we put another cast on. I said, I said, you and I had a conversation before I opted for the surgery and said, this is my plan. I said, I've been doing lots of research. I said, the best orthopedic surgeons in the US now are recommending weight bearing after like a week.
Yeah.
They want you a week post-op with bearing some weight. He goes, no, we're going to put a cast on. I said, you're not putting a cast on me. Let's get this clear. If you put a cast on my leg, I'm going to go home and cut it off. So why waste the money in the cast?
Right, exactly.
Like what I really want, and I said, up on the wall over there, I want one of those boots. That old bastard made me wait like an hour just sitting on the table while he did whatever he was doing. Finally, he comes out, he goes, you know what? He goes, we're going to go with the boot. He goes, but if you injure yourself again, he goes, don't come to me to fix it. And I said, I promise you.
Yeah, don't worry. The relationship is severed.
Don't worry. I don't want to come back to you anyways because you're a carpenter. All you want to do is the way you've always done it, right?
Right.
So anyways, I got the boot and he put like 5 wedges under my heel.
Okay.
And so I was like, this is really uncomfortable. He's like, and you cannot be weight bearing. So this time I'm a branch manager at a local credit union and the credit union needed some renovations done, the branch I was at. And there's a very narrow spot that I had to get through to go to a certain space in the branch. So anyways, he's got that boot. I had already booked, like that was like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'd already booked my physio appointment with a physiotherapist in the place. It was like right next door to the branch I was managing. I had already taken a wedge out by the time I got to the physiotherapist. I went to see him. He took another one out. So now we're down to 3 wedges. And he gave me some rehab things to start doing on range of motion. And so I was working my ass off on those range of motion things and, the rubber band and the stretching and all these things. And I went and saw him 3 times a week. And by the end of week 1 of having the cast on, I had better range of motion than I did before I hurt my ankle. So like, what an epiphany. Hey, fatty, if you just stretch every once in a while, you might have better range of motion. So, and then I got into we took another thing out and I bought this cool crutch. I looked like a pirate, wooden leg pirate, where it helped me walk on it, right? I could just walk around while this boot was on. And so then I started going more and more time without the boot on. Like I started just weight bearing without the boot and putting the boot on when I got tired. And lo and behold, and I was at 6.5 weeks, I was starting to do some light jogging and strength exercises like jumping rope and box jumps and things. And the physiotherapist is like, you probably shouldn't do that. I said, too late. Get on board or get off, whichever one, right? And he's like, this is remarkable. So, you got those balls that you can so I do all of that stuff that they recommended, but I got there, right? Like I got to Thunder Bay and, felt pretty good for the first little bit, but man, by like the second last day, and it was crazy. I think I worked 4 double headers. So I had 4 days where I worked 2 games in one day, and I worked like 12 or 13 games. So it got to the point where I worked, I don't know if you can consider it a semifinal or what it is, a super round game, Japan and Korea. Barely walk off the field after that. I was in pretty rough shape. And umpire supervisor, Gus Rodriguez, assigned me to work right field in the bronze medal game. But yeah, it was just an amazing experience, meeting guys from all over the world.
That's a whole different experience.
Like Frank Bell from South Africa and Dutch guy and
Australian.
We Australian. He's a big time Australian rules football
ABL
guy by the way. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, and I'm like hooked up with him on Facebook and stuff. Well, I don't use a ton of Facebook anymore. But yeah, so yeah, that was really neat. Meet guys from all over the world. A Japanese umpire, umpire umpire from Chinese Taipei, and that was a really rewarding experience, right? And just to see, I mean, I had some experience through winter ball and, you know, international baseball before they brought in these clocks was really slow.
Right. Used to be known for that, yes.
And now these clocks, man, when I was in Peru, they talk about speeding the game up. Like I had most of my games were under 3 hours, which is a remarkable for international baseball. So, right. I mean, I think that was the point, right? They wanted to speed it up and no more of the lollygagging. Just get to your position, get it done, right? Get in, throw your warm-up pitches, have a nice day.
And these are tournaments too, so you got to get so many games in such a short amount of time.
Now they've moved the, you know, I think the 23 and under is all 7-inning games now.
Yeah, a little different.
Which I love sevens.
Fair enough. Yeah. 7s, 9s, a little bit different. I think there's a big difference in the two.
Well, especially when you're not getting paid, right? When you're doing it for the experience. Oh, hey, 7 innings are wonderful.
Fair enough. Because you have more experience. 2019, you get to leave Canada this time and head to Lima, Peru.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I was really excited about getting to that multi-sport event.
Yeah.
You know, that was one of the coolest experiences of being at the Canada Games. Man, we used to walk just across the campus and watch volleyball and swimming. And I was amazed at how many officials it takes to run a swimming race when we can umpire a baseball game on that giant field with 3 of us.
8 lanes, 2 officials lane, start official, everything. They got
it was nuts.
Official. Yep.
It was like 30 some officials for one swimming race. I was like, this is expensive.
Yep.
Like you got to get all these people in from all over the country. So yeah, but I was really excited about that multi-sport event. The weather sucked though. Man, it was like, it was winter, right? So we go in our summer, it was winter in South America. So we had daytime highs were about 15. Oh. And then it would get down a little under 10 degrees at nighttime and foggy and misty. And, you know, I had some great experiences. There were, you know, I got to hook up with 2 guys that I knew pretty well in the minor leagues.
Oh, neat.
American guys that went. So, I mean, I spent a lot of time with them and, you know, that was a real reward. Anytime you can see these people that you've known for years and just haven't seen for a long time was awesome. And what a great crew of people. So we hung out a lot with umpires and the scorers, and South America's, I've now been there twice. You know, you can see it's just, I mean, it's a different lifestyle than we have here.
Oh yeah, no question.
So, I mean, one of the things that amazed me was we went through some pretty impoverished parts of town to get to the yard. Day one, we're like, why is everybody just throwing their trash in a giant pile at the corner of the street? Like you got this intersection, very busy intersection, because there's really no street lights or anything. It's just everybody edges in until they can get through. And then everybody throws their garbage in this gigantic pile until it's about 10 feet high. And then the garbage trucks come around and that's where they pick up the garbage. So they don't go along the front of everybody's house like they would here.
Right.
You know, they're picking it up at that corner. So, I mean, that was neat to see. And I am always, the best drivers in the world are in South America. Man, they drive 2 inches from each other. This guy's driving a bus 2 inches beside the car and nobody even flinches. And it would be a shipwreck here. Like, be accidents everywhere.
That 401, holy frick.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? I mean, so they're very skilled, and it's because they grow up driving in that chaos. But one thing I learned, that the biggest bank in Peru is Scotiabank.
Interesting.
Well, there's a Scotiabank every 300 feet down there, man. Yeah, so I mean, it was a great experience. I got to umpire the plate and the bronze medal game, which was, I don't even remember. That's terrible.
Well, that doesn't really matter. It's all about the experience off the field.
No, the bronze medal game might have been like Colombia and Nicaragua, like 2 teams that you didn't quite expect, you know, and I had some big games throughout. Like I had a play job to see who went to the Super Round, Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. That was a big game. I don't think I saw Peru or Argentina, but I sure as hell saw Cuba and like some real, and you get that, like they want to, 3 ex minor league guys
playing to
at
win
that tournament. So we saw a lot of the big games behind the plate, and I understand that. It's some great experience. The guys from down there, the Argentinian guy was just a classy guy. He'll from time to time send me a WhatsApp chat showing a picture of all the meat he's barbecuing. It's like, dude, can you not do that? It's December here. Like, I understand it's warm where you're at in December, but it's freezing here. Like, but yeah, just a great group of people and a really, really rewarding experience. And I was lucky. Most people hate layovers, but I got a layover about an 8-hour layover in Fort Lauderdale. And so I took an Uber from the airport to the beach. Like, I took a Uber to the beach, to the pier, and I walked on the beach, and I walked out on the pier and watched these guys fishing off the pier, and went and had a lunch and a couple of pops at the place on the pier. But I forgot how hot it is in the middle of the summer in Florida. It's pretty warm. So
walking down memory lane of 23-year-old Keith.
Well, like, why? Yeah, well, I only had a couple of pops. I didn't have a couple dozen, right? So yeah, but it was just it's another life experience, right? And it, for other people that get this opportunity to travel, you gotta make it an experience, because I can speak from my own experience in the minor leagues. I did not get nearly enough off-field experiences, right? Like, so there were some, in Philly, you see the Liberty Bell and, Sears Tower in Chicago and the World Trade Center. Like, I was fortunate enough to take the subway from the World Trade Center in 2000
before,
and then see it after it came crumbling down.
Right.
2004, 2005, but then also have a trip back where I've seen the memorial and all those other things. So, I mean, those are cool experiences. And, but there are a lot of places where you just didn't do anything. Like, thinking back to my week in the South Atlantic League, I probably should have went out and, I've been to Charlotte a bunch of times. Why the heck didn't I go see the NASCAR Hall of Fame? Or how many times did I drive through Springfield, Massachusetts, and I didn't stop at the NBA Hall of Fame? Or, I mean, I worked 3 years in the Eastern League in Akron. At no point did I ever go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
Like, hindsight, I've been to Cooperstown a few times, but hindsight being 2020, those are just experiences I wish I would have taken. Well, I wish I would have taken it, because, then I would have, wouldn't have enough, space in my brain to remember all the on-field crap that you can remember. You just remember all the fun off the field stuff that you did, right? Like, only baseball junkies care if I've met somebody that, went to the big leagues, right? My wife doesn't care. She'd be like, well, what did you see here?
Exactly. Maybe that could be the difference between the guys that get there and the guys that peter out. It's just too much focus on baseball, and maybe those guys are just enough focus on baseball.
Yeah. I don't know what the secret recipe is. I mean, clearly
everyone's
you
different.
have to be good, but even the Major League Baseball supervisors will tell you there's virtually no difference between somebody in AA and somebody in the big leagues when it comes to ball strike safety.
Those are the fundamentals, and you probably don't even get to that level until you can do that, and then it's the rest of it. I
mean, there was a major jump from A ball to AA. Guys getting to balls in the outfield that they never would have got to an A ball, and how hard the pitchers were throwing. And, you see so many guys that make it to the big leagues in AA that you maybe don't see an A ball. And that's part of the reason that Major League Baseball, I think, reduced the number of levels, because you saw a lot of players that were just space fillers. They're just there because you got to put a team together to play with your real prospects.
Right.
And that's where some of the Latin American players got taken advantage of. So you get tons of Dominicans or Venezuelans and or people from Colombia, Panama, wherever they're from, and they're paying them like $700 a month.
Yeah.
And those guys were happy, right? They were playing baseball and they were getting paid. They would have just been playing baseball at home and not be getting paid. So, I mean, now you see the changes to less levels, and there's more prospects playing with other prospects. So, I mean, some good, some bad, but
right.
We
had Stu Shearwater here on the show, and I asked him the question, where did he find the biggest jump, talent-wise, umpire-wise? And he did say that A to AA level is probably the biggest jump. Not saying there's not different aspects to the game at different levels. It's just saying from point A to point B, the biggest jump is A to AA.
Yeah, and I mean, AAA to the big leagues is a major jump too, and it's not necessarily
It's more the heat at the higher level.
Well, yeah, there's 40 TV cameras instead of 3, and you're guaranteed to be on the news at night, and there's a website following ejections in the big leagues and commentary, and people jumping on there as anonymous and making silly comments, and so yeah, it's that is a big jump, but that's mostly we'll call it the peripheral stresses, right?
Right.
The money factor and if you make a mistake in AA in 2004 and there's one news camera there for 30 minutes, they probably don't catch it. But in the big leagues, everybody sees it, right? It's played on the news. And yeah, so Stu and I were both at Trevor's wedding, and I asked him, like, is it just a grind or what? And he said he still gets that thrill when you finish a plate job and you think you had a great game, and at the professional level, if you did a decent job, most of the time the catcher who's catching at the end of the game will say, hey, great job, Keith, we'll see you next time, or great job, Stu. And it still is a pretty good feeling when you finish that game and nobody said boo, right? You walk off the field. So that's still a bit of a thrill. But it's funny because I still, when I'm working a play job, man, like, especially at the national level and the international level, I'm not a real good guy to try to have a conversation with when I'm getting ready to work a play job. Okay. It's just the focus level is different.
Right.
You get amped up, no different than the starting pitcher, I guess. And it's like, hey, I'm trying to, I'm going through the visuals and I'm trying to do all these other things. So please don't talk to me right now. Like, you see most of the time these big league locker rooms, they got a game, you got the 3 base umpires are playing cards or doing whatever they're doing. The plate umpires sitting in the corner by themselves.
Right. If it's a AAA guy, he's probably stuffing food in the briefcase for later.
Yeah. Well, I think they looked after him pretty well.
No, they do. Now. They do now.
Yeah.
And, I'll throw it out there and then we'll move on. I remember talking to Stu, and when he was in that transition, when he was the call-up, he's like, oh, it's going to be great. I'm going to go to the majors. I get the major league money and everything. And kind of the culture of Major League Baseball is that the rookie is responsible to stay with the crew chief and kind of look after the crew chief. I don't know what to call it, but the pet. So if the crew chief wants to do something, you got to look after it. And so it's kind of looking after their own. And Stu was like, it was great. It's going to be awesome. And then I realized the crew chief basically said, okay, we're going to stay at this hotel. And Stu's like, oh, I'm making a great per diem. Oh, I'm actually spending all my per diem at the hotel.
Yeah.
And the crew chief is all like, I don't care. I got points.
Oh, yeah, million points.
Yeah. So it don't bother me. And he says one thing is that there's nowhere that they have to stay specifically. There's no hotel brand. There's no nothing. They book where they want to book. And if you're on this crew for the longest time, you might stay at a Hilton, and these guys might stay at a Sheraton, and I guess Hyatt is one of the more popular ones because it has the best point system. But he did say that he had some good crewmates that really looked after him for points because they respect, you look after me, I look after you kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that was one of the big sticker shocks was like, I'm going to make money, and I'm not.
And they know that you don't have any money.
Oh, yeah.
They know what a AAA umpire's making. And they know because they did it, right? They were in that spot at one point too. And you said the name Angel Hernandez, and that poor guy gets a bad
I feel
rap.
awful for him.
He is a fantastic human being. So to tell you a little unknown story that most people don't know, but back when we were forming the Association of Minor League Umpires, and life for a minor league umpire is terrible. Like, it was terrible.
It was, yep. Like you said, crap hotels.
Just garbage. Like,
at least
unsafe. We're not talking about bad hotels. We're talking about unsafe hotels. I stayed in have you ever watched the show Cops? Remember that show Cops?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Cops, when they filmed that on Tampa, bad boy,
Oh, yeah.
they would have regular arrests outside the hotel we stayed at in Tampa in the Florida State League. The year before I went to Florida State League, I think it was the Astros were visiting team. Some guys robbed the visiting coaching staff at gunpoint. They were sitting out. It was like the rooms face outside.
Right.
And they were sitting out in their chairs having a couple of drinks outside because it's hot. And they got robbed at gunpoint. They tied them up. And so, like, that's the type of places you have no protection. The league doesn't care. They're getting it free because the Holiday Inn Express or Holiday Inn there advertises on their board. So they're giving them free rooms and they don't care about your safety.
And when you talk about negotiations, I remember one of the negotiations was that you had inside rooms.
And once you got to long season, 140 plus games, grown men didn't have to share a hotel room anymore.
Yeah.
Like, duh, what a grind, right? You're sharing a hotel room with another grown man. What if they're married and they want to bring their family in?
Yeah.
Now they got to pay for another room or negotiate another room through the hotel or the team. It was nuts. But anyways, we had no money.
Right.
Like, we had no money to hire a law firm or, lawyers to help us with our first set of negotiations or registering with the National Labor Relations Board. And some of the top two guys in our organization at that time were Tim Timmons and Dan Isogna, or pronounce it. And so when the Major League umpires met in their regular annual meeting, Angel Hernandez made a motion on the floor to donate $10,000 to our startup costs with the Major League Union.
Oh, wow.
And it passed unanimously. So he was thinking about other people. When he was a big leaguer, he could have just kept doing what he was doing, but he was thinking about these young minor league guys and the struggle that we were going through in the cause. So you will never hear me say a bad thing about Angel Hernandez, because I think his qualities as a human being go so far beyond what people think of him as an umpire. So it actually makes me angry when I read comments about him online and, all that other stuff. It just, the internet and social media, people act deplorable on there. Like, it's not right.
I don't have a similar Angel Hernandez story, but I got to say, I have heard other stories within the circle about the fantastic qualities of as a human being that he is. And that is the stuff that he is known for, and looking after other umpires. There's no question. Mm-hmm. And like you say, I get frustrated with social media when people just tear somebody up and they don't even know who they are, and they just go right to knives. And
if you have a scale of 0 to 1 to 100, people go right to 100, right? Like they exactly. They skip it. So, I mean, it unfortunately can bring out the worst in people.
Yeah.
So,
and you're under the spotlight every night. I mean, if I went to work every day and had somebody critique every day, my whole day, wow.
Every single pitch.
Every single pitch. Yeah. And it's like, it's not like he went, oh, that's a strike, but I'm going to call it a ball. Let's play this game. Mm-hmm. Or, I got to agree with you. I've heard some great things about the gentleman, and never had the chance to meet him, but
what was he at, almost a 98% score the other night?
Yeah.
With in that no hitter.
Yeah. And everyone's making a big deal. Oh my God. Like this is what these guys do every night. A couple bad situations, and it's like your whole career. It's like, it's not like he did. It's not like people do stuff intentionally, but intentionally. Let's move on here. You do have an award under your belt. We'll talk briefly about it. 2013, you're the Don Gilbert level 4-5 Baseball Ontario Umpire of the Year. Like, you're rock star status now in Ontario.
Is that what that means? A rock star status? Oh, okay. I just thought
Nickelback style.
I thought that just meant that if you Googled my name, you would see that on the Baseball Ontario website. I thought that's all that meant. No, that was a pretty big honor. Baseball Ontario, there's been a lot of really fantastic people and umpires, from Ontario. So to be thought of in that regard was an honor. And that was probably the first and last. It would be the first out of 2 Baseball Ontario conventions that I've been to.
I'll give you opportunities in the future to make up on the attendance record.
Yeah, well, I haven't been invited before.
Oh, fair enough then.
No.
Well, the one thing, though, about any award here in Baseball Canada or with any association is that when you're voted by your peers, it's always an honor, because I think we work hard for the teams out there. But when you're respected by your peers, just like Angel, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and I would like to think that when you get considered for an award like that, it has nothing to do with your umpiring, right? It has to do with, what are you giving back? And that's one of the things when I talked with Ed Quinlan, and it was a bit of a dumbass when back in the day. I was a little hot under the collar, and talking to Ed about getting back into the program after my time in the minor leagues, that's what it was really about. It was about becoming a clinician, about helping people become better umpires, because I don't think I walked on the field in 2006. I was just disinterested, right? Like, you're not, give me a year off, and then, it's like, hey, I think I have some stuff I could give back, right? And that is really what it becomes about. And I think that's probably what I was recognized more for than the umpiring. So it was a fun award. And circling back, and this, you may have to edit like crazy to get this one in there, but you asked me about, was I in the program before I went to professional umpire school? Yes and no. I went to umpire school the first time and came back, and I was invited to the level 4-5 clinic in Ontario. And I did not make a great impression. I was pretty cocky. I would have been, so what is that, 298? So 98, I would have been 22.
Yep.
I will call it 22. And had just come back from umpire school and thought because I went to umpire school, I was a badass.
Right.
Humbling. But lots of people have been umpire school. One of my mentors, Dale LeGros from Niagara, had been to umpire school, and Ed Quinlan had been to umpire school, and lots of people have been to umpire school, and that's what it is. It's friggin' school. It's like going to university or college and coming out thinking you know everything, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that, I did not make a great impression. And then obviously I was not involved in the program from 99 through 2006, really. Water under the bridge, I'd like to say.
You're in the program now, and we definitely appreciate everything that like you said, course conductors, supervisors do. So stick around. The stories have been fantastic, so your knowledge will definitely be valuable.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're at like 2 hours and 45 minutes now. I probably got about another 3 hours of stories in me at least.
Well, that's the benefit of maybe continuing to supervise and getting people to ask those stories.
Yeah, well,
there's always season 3.
We tried to keep most of the stories PG. Adult stories are probably left better for, off the record adult bevies in a bar or hotel room with the door closed.
That's fair. Well, since it's been a while, let's move on to a section of the show that everyone seems to enjoy. It's called 10 Questions. I'm going to throw 10 questions at you quick. I want to get your vibe on what the answer is, and I'm going to agree or disagree. So let's make sure there's clarity on this. Am I giving you like short answers, like real quick? The idea of this is that we throw in a question at you and we talk about something outside of baseball.
Okay, sure.
So if I like the answer, and if I disagree... Okay.
This is the most pressure I've been under in a while.
Good, because it's something I'm going to start easy. It's something you experience every day. You're in the investment world. Someone's out there getting into it. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or GICs, or are you just going to hide it under your mattress?
For the average investor, mutual funds, because they don't understand. Yeah, they don't understand stocks and bonds directly, and GICs are just a nice, safe way to lose money.
You actually lose money with GICs, especially with the fantastic interest rates that are out there these days.
When you do the math, when you include inflation and income taxes, it's just a nice, safe way to lose money.
Yep, 100%. So don't check out the GICs, stick to the mutual funds, let somebody else manage your money, and hopefully you pick the right fund.
And ETFs.
Yeah, that's the new thing. You work for Investors Group. We're going to name drop it for you. I'm going to meet with my investor group representative on Saturday. I want to know, are you going with the IG Putnam stock, or are you going with the growth fund stock?
You're talking about the US IG Putnam US Growth Fund?
That's my favorite. That's my favorite right now. It's rocking.
Yeah, except it's been a dog for a week
and a half.
So yeah. So it is I hold some of that one in my portfolio. I'm a big believer in something called Core and Explore. So core means you have a core portfolio of, let's say, just a balanced or growth, whatever, managed solution mutual fund, and then you use something else in 10 to 15 to 20% of your portfolio, let's call it. So that could be US Putnam, could be like a healthcare or science and tech.
Right.
I'm not a big believer in precious metals.
And not these days. Too
volatile for most people. Yeah. 2 for 2, baby.
I think we share similar philosophies. I'll tell you, the Putnam, I got into that, I think it was 3 months old, and I'm like, I'm going to like this back in 2015, and it's performed well.
The 3-year rate of return is almost 30%.
Yeah.
So
we're talking about the market. We're kind of in a bull market. Do you think we're heading for the bear market anytime soon?
No. We're going to see a bull market get stronger through 2021, but we're seeing a bit of volatility that people are not they're not comfortable with it. The reality is it's normal volatility, but we've been on this incredible bull run since 2009. Aside from really, you look 2012 period, December 2018, March 2020. Every other time period has gone up.
Right.
It's remarkable. But we're not going to see, look at just a plain and simple economics. People going back to work. When you go back to work, you have more money. Then you spend more of that money, which in turn creates more business for other companies. And then they bring on more people. And the challenge is the inflation projections are coming in hot. And that's what really affected the U.S. market over the last week and a half. And if people truly understand inflation, our inflation numbers are higher than normal because of the cost of gas. Well, what's going on with gas? Carbon pricing in Canada.
Yep.
I don't know if people are paying attention, but there's some supply issues going on in the U.S. If you watch the news, you see people filling up plastic bags full of gas and putting them in their trunk.
But those people also ran to Costco for the toilet paper.
Yeah, whatever. Maybe they can use it to clean up after their place blows up. I don't know.
Not real smart. We are in a carbon-based environment, and yes, there's tax in Canada, and there's a lot of carbon discussion around the world. But I think the thing is too, these companies are investing more money than they ever have, and we're creating more money than we ever had.
Yeah, and if we could stop the Russian hackers and their ransomware, we might be better off.
Yeah, there's only going to be 4,500 downloads total in this show ever, so I don't think you're going to get the Russians. Or if my listens suddenly go up, I know the Russian hackers are there.
There you go.
Being from the Southern Ontario Welland area, do you prefer to watch the falls in Niagara from the Canadian or the American side?
Canadian.
You're doing well.
Have you ever been to Niagara Falls, New York?
No, I have not, but I've been to the Canadian side.
Yeah, it's not beautiful.
Even when you're looking at Canada?
Well, there's lots of lights shining. You can look from the American side and you can see lots of lights, but you can't really see the Horseshoe Falls very well. Okay. So, and you cannot see the American Falls.
Fair. So you're really shit out of luck.
Now it's a lot less expensive. The Canadian side is a tourist trap.
Yes. But that's a discussion for another day. Being so close to the border and close to New York and Buffalo, are you a Bills fan?
I am. Yeah. I'm gonna get it.
Yeah. But I don't blame you. One good year and all of a sudden you're on the bandwagon.
I did see them lose in the Super Bowl 4 times. I'm old enough to remember that. So, but it's funny because my sports go baseball, hockey, football, and basketball trails somewhere further behind those two. So, and now I'm becoming a bigger football fan because my wife is starting to enjoy the game, which is amazing. Now I get to watch it more. But like, who else am I going to root for?
I guess,
I'm not like I'm a Blue Jays fan and a Red Wings fan. Everybody I know in Southern Ontario is a Toronto Maple Leafs fan or a Habs fan. So
yeah, that's easy. That's easy. It's hard to cheer for the losers. That's for sure.
Well, I'm realistic about it. My team made the playoffs for 25 straight years, and I watched them win 4 Stanley Cups.
Oh, okay.
So, and now, the aftermath of making the playoffs for 25 straight years is being horrible. But my issue is they can't even be good at sucking. Like they were supposed to be hands down the worst team in the league this year, and they still finished like sixth last or something, fifth or sixth last.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys suck at sucking. Like
Just be bad.
I think Ottawa finished last. They're gonna win the thing and get the first pick. Like last year when you should have got it, the Rangers stole Lafreniere from you because the league made a stupid choice to do, the lottery that way.
Right.
It was nonsense. Lafreniere would look really good in red.
I feel a little sense of hostility right now. So we'll move on to the next question. We like to learn about Keith here. What's your favorite band?
Whoa, favorite band. Oy, oy, oy. I have really an eclectic taste in music. So I like equally country, rock, like old school hip hop. So if you were to look at my phone, I've got playlists and I might have like NWA and all kinds of stuff on there too. But my favorite band, there's a bunch of them. Like I would say Kings of Leon, getting a little more old school, U2, Depeche Mode, surprisingly great band.
I'll give you that. You got a few.
No Nickelback. No Nickelback.
No, I heard Nickelback earlier. I think you said it.
No, you said
no.
Nickelback.
I think you said it. I think you said
you said you're the Nickelback.
I heard you're a Nickelback fan.
You're Nickelback category is what you told me. We can play it back. You're going to listen to that when you're editing.
Oh, yeah, I will. But I think you said it. We'll put it Keith McConkey. I'm a Nickelback fan.
Friendly wager?
Well, I'll just edit that you just said Nickelback into it.
Yeah.
The power of deception. This is what they talk about the Russian hackers. This is what they're doing.
The Pixies, great band. 5440, good Canadian band. I just looked at my phone. 5440s are at the top. Weezer.
Love Shack. Oh, yeah. Okay, since we're going to bring up Weezer, people don't appreciate how big the band of Weezer is. It's like a 7 or 8 piece ensemble.
It's legendary.
It is good. Good 90s stuff. This leads into the next question. I was thinking you're Southern Ontario. I thought you'd be a Tragically Hip fan.
Oh, I love the hip. I grew up on the hip.
Well, that's where I thought you were going with automatically.
Yeah, no. I mean, they're a great band, but and I listened to other music, and I think I had all their CDs, but don't ask me if I could find a CD from the Tragically Hip anymore.
It's okay,
but pretty eclectic taste.
What's your favorite song by the Tragically Hip?
Wheat Kings, probably.
Right out of the prairies. I love it.
Know your audience.
Yeah, know your audience. I got to say, my favorite, I'll throw it out there too, because I like to talk music, Scared. And
yes. Yeah.
So real on that last show by Downey. It's just amazing how these guys write this music, and it kind of just fits life.
Trickle down. Lining up, waiting on a trickle down. So I remember I have fond memories of listening to that song at local carnival, and you're on that one where you stick you inside and you're against the walls and it goes around in a circle.
Gravitron.
Oh. And I remember listening to that trickle down and going, it's about to do more than trickle down when I puke in this Gravitron.
Oh, yeah.
So it's amazing the shit you remember.
I bring it up. It's amazing how important music is to moments in our life. That's why I ask music.
I can see the guitar behind you and the actual singing microphone, so I can tell you're a fan. I have a very inexpensive acoustic guitar that I bought last year because we own a trailer and we're seasonals at a campground. So I'm like, I might as well learn how to, play a little acoustic guitar by the campfire. And I'm terrible. Everybody keeps telling me you're going to struggle. Then one day you're going to figure it out. I'm like, when's that day coming?
Being a Nickelback fan, you'll struggle for your whole career.
I guess, yeah.
No, guitar, music, I think it's one of the best things. We play sports. You talk about your injury. Mm-hmm. One day an injury might hit you and you can't play sports the rest of your life. Yeah. I advocate. I think you can take music the rest of your life. So that's
still play hockey. Yeah, I'm still playing hockey, and my old man played into his 70s. So fingers crossed I can stay healthy enough to do that.
Okay, you're going to wake up Saturday morning and you're going to head down to the Welland Farmers Market. Is there a booth or that you prefer to hit up?
Yeah, there's this guy that sells kielbasa and pepperonis and stuff, and it's a little more expensive than you'd get at a grocery store, but it is the cat's meow, man.
That's why we go to the farmers market.
Go see the meat. Go see the meat guy.
The meat guy. There's something like 80 booths at the Welland Farmer Street Market.
Have you been to the Welland Farmers Market?
No, I haven't, but
You've just looked it up.
I've looked it up and tried to prep you to make you feel good about Welland.
I don't go there all that often in the summertime because we're at our trailer, but my father goes every Saturday morning.
But every community has a farmer's market, and every person has their favorite booth that we're going to...
It's like every city in Niagara has one. Welland, St. Catharines, Fawn Hill has a market. So Fawn Hill's a Pelham. It's a smaller community of about 20,000 people just outside of Welland, and they have a great one on Thursday nights. Like they shut down the square, and then they have the market, and then they have bands playing, and yeah, it's awesome.
I challenge everyone listening, go head out to your local farmer's market, support local. You never know what you're going to run into and find or who you're going to support. Check it out.
Hear, hear.
Explore your community. We talked about not exploring communities we visited. Start by exploring your community, and you'll learn how to explore others. Well, in Ontario, have you ever took part in the zombie walk?
No. I'm not a zombie guy.
Pandemic. How could you not be?
Yeah, it's just not my bag, baby.
Fair enough. We'll move on then. Talking food in Welland, where is the best restaurant you're going to take someone to?
Whoa.
Just a favorite.
Welland is not known for having great restaurants.
Okay.
So I'm a big chicken wing guy. There are a couple of restaurants locally where they have amazing wings. So Handlebar Hank's, Tailgates. There's a place called The Trap. Not much for ambiance, we'll say, but the wings are amazing. And you can't get wings across the country like you can get them here and then maybe in Western New York. Like just incredible. So
Handlebar Hanks.
Handlebar Hanks, Tailgates, props to those chicken wings that I will probably be eating tomorrow.
As soon as they lift the restrictions, he's running right to Handlebar Hanks.
No, they're doing takeout, man. They do takeout.
Got to make sure it works.
And you're right. A second we're like June 3rd, when we're allowed to be on a patio, I will probably be having lunch at Tailgates.
Fair enough. Just for those listening, Welland, Ontario, home of former president of Blue Jays baseball, Paul Beeston.
That's his former home?
Yeah, well,
I didn't know that. I didn't grow up in Welland. My wife and her entire family are from here, and I grew up in a smaller town called Thorold. But yeah, Welland's been okay to me. I'm not going to complain.
Fair enough.
I stay away from downtown.
You got caught in the wife trap. That happens to the best of us.
Well, I mean, we had
especially when you marry up. That's what happens.
Always marry up. I mean, it'd be pretty hard for me to marry down. You got a, face like mine. It'd be hard to marry down.
Question 10. We've talked a lot about it, but what is your favorite beer?
Yeah, it's not even close. Yingling Lager, son.
I've just learned about this tonight, but you go ahead.
I love all kinds of beers from all over the world. So, I mean, your Asian beers, your Singha and your Tsingtao and your Sapporos and your Tigers, and mix in the occasional Kingfisher, which is an Indian beer. And then, you have some good ones from places like the Czech Republic and Poland. And, I remember drinking a few beers in Venezuela, and they come in this tiny bottle. So it's like a 250 ml bottle, but it's like could double as paint thinner. Like it's got about 8% alcohol in it. So, and it was funny because you go up and order, you'd pay about $50 or 50 cents a piece.
Okay.
So you'd buy a round of those, and it's foggy how you got back to a hotel at the end of the night. So it wasn't bad. It was delicious, and not a real fussy guy. I don't much care for Bud or Bud Light.
No.
Or Coors Light or those because they're just mass produced. But yeah, Yingling Lager is my favorite, probably followed by Rolling Rock and some other beautiful ones.
Yingling Lager. Check them out.
And Miller Lite, support your corn farmers.
I'll leave that to you. Well, moving on, another section of the show, almost done, called Local Legends. Share with us someone giving back to the baseball or umpire in culture in your own community.
So, it would be an epic fail for me not to name these two gentlemen. If not for them, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now. So they are both in the program. They've both supervised, umpired at many, many national championships. They've both umpired internationally, and their names are Ben Mercier and Dale LeGros. For those of you that have been in the program for a while, you know the names of these two guys, and you know that they're just amazing human beings. And they're both people who took me under their wing at a very young age. And I remember, Dale was a guy who would come watch me umpire at the local Pee Wee Diamond. Like, we're not even from the same town. He's from Meriden and I'm from Thorold. And then, I'm in extended spring training, and Dale and his wife, Nancy, made a special trip out to see me in Sarasota. And they did the same for Trevor Grieve, and just truly amazing people. I remember I worked my first men's league game at the age of 16 with Ben Mercier. It went very smoothly because it was with Ben Mercier. Fair. Right? It just control the game and look after people. So, I mean, if they're listening, thank you, gentlemen. You really have helped shape where I'm at today because of that, right? And, it's a great opportunity to be able to name people by name. And there's a lot of people who have had influence over my career in umpiring, but locally, those are the two guys. I mean, hands down.
Nothing against Ben Mercier. I've never met him. I've heard lots of good things about him, but I have had the opportunity to meet Dale LeGros, and I have to say everything that you and Trevor said about him, Dale's class act, and these are people that just get into it because they love it and make sure that the next group loves it. So thanks, guys, for doing everything you do. Yeah, and I mean, there are lots of other people that I've met throughout the country that are advocates for the program and for other people. Without them around, the program fails. Right? You have people that are, I'm a member of the local Rotary Club, and one of the mottos there is service above self. And we have a lot of people that are doing that in the umpiring community. Right? They're not getting paid. They just donate hundreds of hours of their personal time for others, really. Right. And the one thing that is the most expensive in this world that does not have a price is time. You can't get it back. So when you put your time in, you hope that you maximize the opportunity. Amen. Well, Keith, that essentially wraps up this episode of The Leading Edge. I want to thank you for giving us the time. Before we go, we always like to give the guest the opportunity to part with the last words, call them words of wisdom. So, Keith, what is your inspirational message to aspiring umpires? Ooh, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are how we learn. And so talked about some of the life lessons earlier. It's you learn those best lessons when you make mistakes. So I can think back to my amateur career, my professional time, that I've made some real snafus on professional baseball fields that are not embarrassing because I learned from them, but that resulted in 4 ejections, right? Like, so of people that you would know, we're not going to get into that, but names that you would know. And so, just don't be afraid to make mistakes and reps. So reps are the most important thing you can have. We all hear about the plate dodgers. If you work with somebody who doesn't want to work the plate, then strap it on. Because guess what? The more pitches you see, the better you're going to get. And don't quit because you catch some flack from some people and think it's a better option to go work at McDonald's or whatever else that you can do, because you're just not going to learn as much in the way of life lessons by doing that.
Well, that concludes this episode of The Leading Edge, where we talk with umpires about umpiring and look to cover topics on both sides of the plate. Join us on our next episode, where we bring on an umpire that has worked at all levels of Baseball Canada National Championships, is currently the president of the New Brunswick Baseball Umpires Association, is an umpire equipment guru, is also the president and CEO, head umpire equipment guru, and chief bottle washer of AtlanticOfficials.ca, and a guy that's a lot of fun at parties, Mike Doucette. Now, before we go, we would like to leave you with this. There's a common rule myth that people believe that the batter cannot be called out for interference if they are in the batter's box. My response to that is, can the catcher be called for interference if they are in the catcher's box? Take care, everybody, and stay safe.